Okay,
And just tell me when you're ready.
the meeting is live and
Okay,
we're ready.
thank you. I'd like to call the meeting to order. And we have Frank is going to be late. Duncan was absent with notice. And I'm not sure about Siobhan right now. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to open up the public comments. 6 o'clock. Student representative update. Caleb.
So recently, band and chorus had their concert. That was on December 7th. It was well attended and the students performed beautifully. Winter athletics are in full swing now. The home opener basketball game for boys varsity was on Friday, and they started the season with a win against Newfound. Girls basketball opens at home tonight. We're also beginning Hoops for Hunger, which is hosted by Student Council, and that is a basketball competition, and we're accepting donations for a local food pantry. Auditions for the musical review Pure Imagination began on December 7th. The show will take place in the spring. Robotics, NHS, Chorus, and Interact all went to the New Hampshire Veterans Home to sing Christmas carols for the residents as well as demo the robot. Granite State Challenge team will be attending a Quiz Bowl tournament in Merrimack this Saturday. The team will bring 5 students. Thank you to Mr. Heyman, Ms. Bedford, and Mr. McLeod for helping reestablish the team. Also, please join us on Thursday for the community night at Interlakes Middle High School. The class of 2027 is hosting a spaghetti dinner, and the class of 2025 is hosting a silent auction. Donations are welcome. There are also opportunities for community members to discuss strategic planning and portrait of a great community. We also, Lakerbox would like to thank the school board for donating to the team this 2024 season. I don't know who this.
All you
Pass
need is
to
the
the
chair.
Thank you. That's it. We'll circulate this in a minute. Okay. Minutes, the November 14th regular school board meeting minutes. Attachment 1. Motion to approve the minutes.
So moved. Second.
Any corrections? No? All those in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
We're gonna skip around a little bit and we're gonna do under letter G. We're gonna do the letter from the 2024. Mary?
My apologies. So we have Dr. Downing here and a representative from the class of 2024 and also the advisor for the class of 2024 they wrote you a letter, which we did distribute to you and, certainly want a chance to please share their request. The board will take it under consideration possibly this evening and possibly vote on it at their January meeting. So I'll turn things over to the class of 2024.
Okay,
If you'd like to summarize it, you can do that.
I'll just read it.
Okay.
Alright, on behalf of the class of 2024, the senior class officers would like to extend our appreciation for your hard work and dedication. 2 years ago, as you all know, COVID hit and had a lot of repercussions with our school, so we thank you for you handled that. We'd like to recognize the efforts by administration to give classes somewhat normal high school experiences. We're halfway through our second year of our normal high school year since COVID in our modified schedule. Freshman year, we had no class advisor due to the heavy hit of COVID, so we were not able to do any fundraising whatsoever. This had a big effect on our financials. Sophomore year, we were able to find an advisor halfway through the year, but we still faced a lot of difficulties with fundraising due to protocols. So as freshmen and sophomores, we were not able to feel the high school experience to the fullest. due to the closure of our school, we missed the ability to participate in school dances until junior year. So we want to make up for that with a good prom. First 2 years of high school made it difficult. So prom, graduation, class gifts, senior night, class trips are hard to pay for with little money. Our junior year, we've tried to make up for lost time by having as many fundraisers as possible. I personally attended bingo night. We had a car wash, sandwich fair. Yeah. Let's see. We've still missed out on many opportunities to increase our funds, like previous classes and the future classes. So we'd be extremely appreciative of any financial support the school board could offer the class of 2024 as we planned our end of the year activities. Similar to last year's class, we're struggling to adequately secure funds for these events essential to a unified, positive, and traditional senior year. We'd ask for your support of $5,000 to provide our school departure from the school environment into the real world. Yeah, thank you. Cole McIntosh, Vice President of Class 24, and the rest of us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cole, for what it's worth, I think you make a very good point. When you lose time, you don't get it back. So I think it's a pretty compelling argument.
And certainly not without their effort and Ms. Wah's effort, and I've been kind of a foe. I've been one of their class advisors as well since they've been in that class. Everybody's worked so hard, but that time definitely is a deficit.
Thank you. We'll look at that in January.
So Cole, what that means is it will be on the January agenda for the board to consider if they want to take action. Okay?
Yeah,
How short are you?
I don't remember.
I don't know exactly what our balances are. We have put a deposit down for our prom venue and paid full for the DJ, and we're still looking at food. But I think with prom alone, we're gonna wipe out our bank account, our balance.
And your request is $5,000?
Correct.
Can I ask one other question?
Sure.
If that is the case, is 5,000 enough?
It's interesting you say that. I did.
There's only one answer to that.
I did ask them to lower the amount that they were requesting, given that they've had more time than the previous classes before them and before them. So we kind of evened that out for giving it a fair shake for how much the classes had asked before versus what they've had an opportunity to fundraise for. So now that would have caught up with the previous classes.
So you're feeling good about 5,000?
Yes.
Bottom line. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, current bills payable. Oh, I'm sorry. Does somebody else have a question? No. Current bills payable, general operating expenses, attachment 2 in your packet. I need a motion for the manifest 3013.
So moved. Second.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Enrollment report, attachment number 3. This is Mary.
So you have the enrollment report in your packet. There's not really a significant change from last month.
Okay, we're under new business. New Hampshire Municipal Bond Bank presentation, attachment number 4 in your packet.
So you want me to go ahead and start sharing my screen now?
That would be perfect. We have Tammy say, now I know I asked you beforehand and now I have a brain cramp.
Thank delay. Yeah.
Bond Bank. I want to thank Mr. Swanker who helped to arrange this conversation. For a period of time, the district was operating under at least guidance that we had at one point that we were not bondable because of unfunded liabilities with retirement components. We have since learned, at least at this day and age, that we are potentially bondable, which does allow for when you start looking at larger projects to spread it out over a period of time. But we will let Tammy take it away.
All right. Can you just, maybe it's not up there right now. Hold on. Okay. Can you see my screen? Okay. All All right, I can't see you, so if you have any questions, just please ask me at the end. I'm Tammy St. Gelais. I'm the executive director of the New Hampshire Municipal Bond Bank. I've been there about 23 years now, executive director for about 5. We were created in 1977 by the New Hampshire State Legislature under RSA 35A. We are a nonprofit, self-supporting political subdivision of the state of New Hampshire. We are operated by a 5-member board of directors that is appointed by the governor, including the state treasurer. There are 2 other staff members, Jill and Doreen in our office. Jill is the assistant director and Doreen is the finance director. And our mission is to provide adequate markets for the borrowing of money for participating governmental entities in New Hampshire, such as yourself. We typically go out into the market twice a year. We go in January and July. Oops, sorry about that. So far, we have issued 1,408 loans, equaling $3.3 billion since our inception in 1977. When you borrow through the bond bank, we automatically look for refunding opportunities. So we've refunded 26 times since 1986, returning $85 million in savings to the communities that borrow with us. So anytime we have a 10-year call on all of our bonds, meaning you can't finance your loan until after 10 years, but we do that for you automatically. And once we go out into the market and refinance those bonds, we reduce your future debt service by those savings. So everything that has been refinanced to date has been. And we have our large bond rating, our high bond ratings, credit ratings, which is a AA+ with S&P and a AA2 with Moody's. And the Hampshire Municipal Bond Bank provides long-term financing through tax-exempt general obligation bonds, typically in January and July. The bond bank obtains funds for the community's loan by its own issuance of bonds by pooling its borrowing with other participants in the sale. The bond bank includes the cost of issuance, so all the costs that are included with issuing bonds is included in the sale and shared with all the other participants. These costs are all fixed and they're shared with the others in the pool. And the only out-of-pocket cost to the community is obtaining your local bond counsel. And I believe I had given the bond counsel list to you already. If not, please let me know. I can provide that for you. If funds are needed prior to our scheduled bond sale, we can help you with short-term financing through bond anticipation notes. So that's so if you need money, so say this project passes in March and you need your money right away, but we're not going to distribute our funds until August. We can help you obtain short-term financing in the interim through a local bank. And then once you get your proceeds from your bond, then you can pay off that ban. We provide estimated debt schedules for planning purposes. We use conservative interest rates on these estimates because we don't know what our interest rate is going to be until we actually go out into the market on bond sale day. I did provide some schedules. I mean, I do have them that I can share on my screen. If you're interested, I can probably do that after my presentation, just so I don't interrupt everything. And then we can also attend meetings in your community, which I've done both for you. These are some of the benefits of issuing your bonds through the bond bank. We have very competitive interest rates because we're very well known in the market. Our credit enhancement and our security. We help by reducing time requirements involved with bond issuance. A lot of the cities in New Hampshire do borrowing on their own because they have similar credit ratings that we do. But they come through the bond bank just for the simple process of reducing the time that they need or personnel that they need. There is a low cost of issuance when going through the bond bank. The only out-of-pocket expense, like I said, is obtaining your bond opinion. And all issuance costs are included in the final structure and is included in that final interest rate that you receive. And the bond bank's interest rates are fixed throughout the life of the loan. We'll provide you administrative assistance throughout the process. It's a streamlined borrowing process. We try to make it as simple as possible for you. And we take care of your annual disclosure requirements. So whenever you have a bond, your required federal requirement is to do an annual disclosure every year. Coming through the bond bank, we do that for you. So you don't need to do that. These are some of the eligible capital projects that are allowed under the RSA 33.3. You can see schools, additions, renovations, which, I mean, that's just kind of a summary, but, you know, we've done HVAC systems, we've done turf fields, we can do it all. So contact us for estimated debt schedules, which you have done. What they do is they provide you with an estimate of what your yearly principal and interest payments will be and the tax rate impact as well. So we use the conservative rates because for budgeting purposes, you want to put that higher number in your warrant article for your first interest payment to make sure that you have enough in there. And I strongly suggest that you contact your bond counsel right away so they can provide you with a checklist of what's needed. They can review your warrant article. They'll give you the timelines involved. And your bond counsel fees can also be included in your project costs. So we just need to know that ahead of time. So you just coordinate your needs, look at your cash flows, coordinate your needs with our bond sale schedules to decide, you know, what timing is best for you. So this is just a few of the highlights of our bond sales. So January, right now, we're going out on January 9th. We have 6 participants right now with I think it's 22 million going out on January 9th. So January 9th, we'll have a better idea of what interest rates are at. Feds are supposed to meet tomorrow. We don't anticipate them raising rates, but you never know. So the one that you would want to look at, and there's a typo there, should be July 2024. If this is a project that you were to bring to March town meeting, you want it to be in our July sale. Your application deadline is April 26th. We'll price the bonds on July 10th. You'll receive your funds on August 7th. And then there's your first interest payment and your first principal payment. So that's pretty much the same, similar schedule year after year. So the bond needs to be approved by a governmental entity prior to issuance. So you do need to bring it to annual meeting and it needs to be approved. We require a completed bond application as well as 3 years of financials by a CPA firm. We use this information to provide a summary and recommendation to our board for approval of that application. And we also require an approving opinion from your bond counsel to make sure that everything was done correctly and according to law. So the bond bank pulls together each individual loan into one New Hampshire bond and sells this bond competitively in the market. The true interest rate is then determined for each participant. We then distribute the funds to each community and collect semi-annual principal and interest payments to repay our bondholders on our payment date. We sold $100 million in July 2023, and these are the interest rates we received at that time. So if you look, they're still very, very good rates. I know they have gone up a little bit since then, so I'm curious to see what our January will do. But I'm pretty sure I do send out an email blast after each sale to give you an idea, to let you know what our results were. So somebody there should receive that. So the interest rates, as I said, are determined at the time of sale. And if you want to look at a history of our rates, you can go to our website at nhmbb.com and you'll see there's a 10-year history there. We had I think it was probably 5 years with very, very, very low interest rates. These are still low interest rates, but they are climbing. And then we distribute the final documents for signature and wire your bond proceeds into the bank that you direct us to. You need to expend your bond proceeds per RSA regulations, and bond counsel will go over that with you. And that's typically within 3 years. So keep that in mind when you're planning a project. We require that you send your audits to us on an annual basis as long as your loan is outstanding with us. DRA also requires you to submit your audits to them each year by June 30th. So I always tell people when you send it to DRA, go ahead and send it to the bond bank as well. We'll mail you a change of purpose letter each year because if you're the change of purpose, so say you're doing a school renovation or say you're doing a school classroom, and that's the tax exempt issue. If you were to sell that classroom to a private entity, then it's considered taxable. So we would need to know that. So that's why we send out that letter each year, because we're only allowed to have so much taxable debt in our pool. These are our board of directors and our professional advisors. These advisors have been with us since inception, pretty much. So they're very reliable and helpful. Here's my contact information. If anybody has any questions, I can be reached email, phone. And does anybody have any questions? I'm just going to stop sharing so I can see you.
The hope this evening was just to at least bring some knowledge. Certainly we've been talking about the locker room and some other classroom spaces. I know we've had conversations about bathrooms needing updating. So, it's at least adds, I think, a possible avenue at some point for discussion. Wanted to at least have Tammy at least share a little bit about it and, be aware that it seems like it might be an option.
Absolutely. I'm not sure who told you that, but it's you are a school district who's eligible under the RSA 35A or 33.3, sorry.
The point I wanted to make is matching durations. What we're talking about is a long duration investment in our school. People will benefit from that capital expenditure over the next 20, 30, 40 years.
Mhm.
It is not right to put the burden of that rehab just over this 1 year to those people. You want to match durations. Long duration investments require long duration financing. So for me, always walking around thinking we couldn't do it, and the ETF role as an alternative, I think it's great news that we can use the bond bank. We'll be as prudent as we have been in the past. And just so you know, the town just did $12.7 million to 18 months ago. And we used the bond bank as the town of America. 1 3/8, 15 years.
That's really good.
It's like you'll never see it again.
You'll never see it again.
Yeah, Meredith sold at the right time.
I want to thank Mr. Swanker again for taking the initiative and setting up a conversation to learn a little bit more. And thank you very much, Tammy, for your time tonight. We really appreciate
Do
it.
we have any
Sure.
questions?
Not related to this, no.
Oh, looks like Mr. Meekins.
I'm just curious, I agree with you on the duration issue. You use the word fixed a lot. If you look, given prevailing interest rates, maybe 3, 4, 5% for a muni at this point.
I'm
What
sorry.
are the
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing because it keeps going out occasionally.
refinancing options
Is there
once you're
refinancing?
into the pool?
They
In other
do,
words, if interest rates drop the next 3 or 4,
they'll
5 years,
refinance.
they
Yeah.
refinance.
Yeah, so we have it, like I said, we have a 10-year call on all of our bonds. So we can't refinance until after 10 years. But we have underwriters that, I just had one across my desk the other day for 14A, and that's the next one that's eligible to be refinanced. We're constantly getting solicited for these refunding opportunities. So we will automatically do that for you. If interest rates are lower, we'll refinance it for you. And we will reduce your future payments we won't change your interest rate, but we'll reduce your future payments by the savings.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Tammy.
Tammy.
You're welcome. Have a good meeting. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Okay. Hiring the ILES principal for 2024, 2025.
So we have an ad that NESDEC has helped to create, and that is going out from NESDEC this evening or tomorrow morning. I will be reaching out to staff to try to give them an update as to where we are, as well as the school board. I'm hoping that there might be 2 members on the board who would like to help through the search process. And I'll be reaching out to parents, looking for parents to serve on the committee as well. My target date, I had hoped to be right before February break, but I think realistically it will probably be the first week of March. That hopefully we're bringing a nomination to the board. So basically the month of January, we'll be leaving it open for advertising. candidates with their packets due the 31st, and then really February will be about selecting and interviewing. So people who do serve on the committee need to, I see a heavy time investment. We will do the meet and greets like we've done before, so all families, all staff, and all board members would have an opportunity to meet the final candidates before we move forward with the final nomination. But hoping that there'll be some people who will be willing to participate in what I think will be a little labor intensive.
Okay, I may ask a question, I guess. I know we've placed the advertisements, et cetera, but are we considering a professional firm to go out and look for candidates and look in other states and other districts so that we do get the best potential candidates that we could get?
So NESDEC,
Whoever sees an advertisement,
so
right?
NESDEC does that. They have national recruiting cards. They have listservs. So their job is to try to get a far-reaching. They're not a headhunter in terms of going directly to somebody. I'm not aware of that in the field of education, but it's one worth exploring. NESDEC is one of the kind of the people that you go to when you're looking for some help, at least in the field of education. But it might be worth having a conversation with maybe somebody outside of education.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Question. And this may be intentional, but my guess is it is, no mention of the AP position being filled.
So my first objective is to do the principal, because my hope is the principal will be part of the hiring of the AP.
Makes sense.
I think there'll be some overlap. I think when we're interviewing, we'll start advertising probably in the month of February for the AP. But my hope is then that work of selecting candidates to be interviewed and interviewing, that the successful candidate will be part of that.
Right. That's all.
Okay. Region 8, Hewitt and Winnisquam Regional Agreement Action Item, which is attachment 5 in your packets.
So if you recall, we did share that last month for your review. This again is a effort between all of the sending and receiving schools for the Hewitt and the Winnisquam agricultural program, which is actually is moving away from just agriculture.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Tuition rate memo, 2023-2024, which is attachment 6 in your packet. Mrs. Mary?
So Mrs. Dollop has calculated the annual tuition rate that we'd like to propose to the board. This is done using the process the state has. There are things that kind of come out as they then determine what your yearly tuition rate calculates to. And so what you have is based on that, and we are hoping the board will consider setting the tuition rate at those amounts. So the elementary is $29,651.50. High school is $29,130.49. And elementary is K-8. That's just the way the state looks at it.
I guess, what were the rates last year?
So we were using the similar methodology, but the board had at one point some conversations about potentially having ways of varying that. I think that created some confusion at times, and so I think my recommendation would be just to stick with what the state has proposed, and then it's kind of simplifies things. Boards always have, it's within your purview, like you can choose to do a waiver or something along that line, but it does help to just solidify it.
Is that published data? Public?
So I believe this is in terms of the state, this calculated rate. I think that they have a report that's posted on their site.
I think they do. For
I think,
daily
I
membership.
think so,
Yeah.
yeah.
So the average daily membership is posted. We come up with this on, that's what,
Through that.
yes.
I think there might be another report that is on the website that uses a similar
I
amount.
mean, going back, we've never used numbers this high when we've been talking about
Oh.
tuition, maybe in the last year,
Yeah,
but a lot of those discussions were.
Okay, can I have a motion?
Second.
Any further questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
thank you.
Okay, 2024-2025 school calendar, attachment 7.
So this was put on as a motion, that was not, unfortunately, that I didn't catch that. We are hoping tonight is just kind of building some awareness around the calendar. We usually like people to have a chance to think about it. We're also, we've shared it with the ILEA to get feedback, which is part of our negotiated agreement. I think there's a couple of small adjustments that we can already see that we need to make, but this is at least a first beginning of, this, the goal is to align as best as we can to the UIT and to Winnisquam, and that there's new legislation that I think you can have no more than 10 disconnected, days that you're not in alignment. We have tried to move our parent-teacher conferences to Tuesdays, which are in November and in March, and that's because other schools are closed because of voting. So we used to try to have teacher conferences on Fridays or Monday for, in terms of trying to make a more connected week. But, that allows us to match 2 days. So we're in pretty close alignment. And there are other times that we are not aligned, which is like if we're doing winter carnival and things like that, they're not days that are out of school, but they're days that kids want to stay at school to have, participate in that culture activity, which means sometimes they're missing their program at the UIT or at Winnisquam.
Eric, is there a statute that says when we have to have this approved by? Like by March 31st of every year, or?
I'm not sure about, I'd have to check that. We do have a policy that says December, which we very rarely make.
So we'll expect to be, we'll take action in January.
That would be my hope. I think then people know. Part of what, some of it is because we become dependent on like other people's calendars,
Sure.
which delays. But I will check the RSA.
I just want to make a comment that I really appreciate on the one here in our packet, that with your workshop days, that there is an X in them. Because as a parent, when I read the one that was emailed, I really struggled to know, like, is that a school day that's special? Or is that a non-school
Yes.
day that's special?
So it definitely, I think we picked up on that,
I like
and X was helpful. And this does have, I'm proposing for consideration that we would do what we have done this year, which is provide an additional professional day, which would mean one less student day. That would be in November and in January. Again, we have more and more training that we're required to do, as well as training we need to do, and we have limited time. So something for consideration.
Okay.
Just a couple of questions for me. We have a strap agenda that's coming up that we'd like to do. Will that continue in strategic planning? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So will that continue into 2024, that you would like to add some dates on here for that?
I think that's premature,
Okay.
but I think that's a possibility. What I would say is probably in June,
Mhm.
we would know that.
Right.
And I think this was a suggestion you had made last year about putting the school board meeting
Yep,
dates
no, I
on,
see it. That's
which I think was
excellent.
a great idea. And I think it's really helpful. So I think if there are things that come out of strategic planning, that we do the same thing.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
Okay. Thank you.
Mrs. Moriarty?
Sorry to interrupt. I don't know that this is appropriate. We have a staff member who I don't believe resides in the district that has public comment, but it's related to the calendar.
That would be something for the chair to decide.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay, so the question is, was there consideration given to November 5th as a parent-student teacher conferences being held the same day as the presidential election? And I believe you just addressed that, but I just wanted to make it mention. at the meeting.
Thank you.
Okay. So we're moving on to donations, which is attachment number 8 in your packet. You can maybe, you want me to go?
I can
Do you
do,
want to do it?
if you'd like me to. And we do have, the addendum has some as well.
Oh, this is,
Let's
That was
see.
the smaller piece.
oh, I see. No, I
So-
have it.
Might be this one. Oh, no, that's SAU.
We have for after prom, we have $500 from Verizon Smart Wireless, $500 from Donovan Tree Experts. We have for Laker Box, we have $500 from George's Diner in the amount of, I'm sorry, this was 2. George's Diner in the amount of 1,000, and a donation from Sal Coast 33 in the amount of 500. Meredith Rotary Club for Laker Box and $2,500. Donation from Most Worshipful Grand Lodge Masons in the amount of $1,800. And then it continues. Another, I'm thinking that 25, I'm sorry, she included them. This Disker family in the amount of $250. The Schubert Trust in the amount of $1,500. And overhead door options in the amount of $500. Sandwich Central School to support extracurricular activities. The Sandwich Fair Association in the amount of $79. Hannaford Helps in the amount of $267. And Molten Borough Lions Club in the amount of $500. Also to be used by Interlakes Elementary School to fund commission for school photos, a Shutterfly donation in the amount of $2,541.33.
Did we also get the Quimby?
You did.
Sandwich
Did
Central?
Oh, sorry,
No, you
it was the second page, my
Yeah,
apologies.
yeah, that's okay.
I went to the addendum. Donation from Alfred Quimby Fund in the amount of $1,800 used for the specific purchase of 10 sets of small-sized skis and poles for Sandwich Central School kindergarten. Recall, kindergarten students in Sandwich are there all day, and so now they're going to participate in the program, so they need some skis to do that. So what an amazing number of donations.
It is.
Such tiny skis.
So we need a motion to accept
I'll second it.
with gratitude. All those in favor?
Aye. I'm not here, so.
Okay. Indoor track. Mrs.
Yes.
Moriarty.
So you have a proposal that the Frosts have been very generous to offer to take on indoor track. We've not had an indoor track program. They are willing to help fund that program for 3 years, which has been our process for a new sport. There are athletes who want to participate. And so we are seeking your approval for them to at least begin the process of year 1 of seeing if indoor track is a viable option.
So moved.
Give me a second.
I'll second.
Siobhan.
Will they use something like the gym?
So I guess they'll use the gym. Sometimes I've seen kids in indoor track in other places run through the building.
Yes.
On those
They'll
very
utilize-
cold
yeah,
days.
They'll utilize the building, the gym, and then other areas as needed when it's warm enough outside for certain things, but yeah,
Do you wanna
Running in the gym is very different than running outside.
yes, it is.
The Frosts have consistently been incredibly generous to supporting track and field, and they've run very successful spring track and field.
No pun intended.
I really didn't intend that, Charlotte. That's the sad part.
Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye. Thank you for the support.
Okay, budget development, 2024-2025, Mrs. Dahl.
So in your addendum packet, the last page, you have a copy of the budget development calendar. Just to kind of give you a highlight, we are seeking administrators to enter their budgets by this Friday. Mrs. Moriarty and I will be meeting with them next week. And we're at I would say the first week of January, we'll be really digging into it and hoping to have your budget books ready for you on January 19th.
Will
What I
they be
can
books
share-
or will we be sharing on Google Docs?
Well, I don't think Google Docs, board docs, you mean?
Board
Yeah,
docs.
board docs,
Well,
whatever, yeah. Whatever we just got.
You know what, maybe
Yeah,
we can
yeah.
look at that.
We could.
That might be a good way to do that. That's a great idea.
I would like a paper copy.
We can do both, we can
I would-
It's
differentiate.
easier for me to write on.
I also prefer the paper.
They're
Just,
there in
Yeah,
board docs forever.
yeah.
just a little, again, I think I've been saying it, anticipate special education costs to have significantly increased. In addition, there was some sampling done with other districts in terms of where their budgets are at, and people are in different phases of development depending on how your community is set up. There were 23 districts that had responded, and I think of the 23, the special education costs, the average was up 11%. So, I don't know, I think ours will be much higher than that, but it kind of followed the trend, definitely. Health insurance was, I think, about 16%. So similar pieces. I think overall, it was just under 6%, I think, the average. So
For the budget.
yeah, for that was only 23 districts that had responded, but just to, I do anticipate it being a challenging budget.
Absolutely.
Sorry, on a side note, do we have a status of where we're at?
We
I
do.
do apologize. I was just looking at the agenda and realized that didn't make it, but I do have an update, so
Okay.
if it's okay.
Might be
should
a
I
good
it
time
now?
to do that
Okay.
because it is definitely relevant.
Yes. Sure. So,
That's even though like that.
I can say, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I can take it again. So I'll preface this with, this is a snapshot in time, as everybody knows. And so I'll just draw your attention right above the blue line. The 1.3 million, that's currently what we're showing as our available balance.
Unassigned fund balance.
Our available balance, yeah. Yep. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Public comment available?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
So with the pending encumbrance expenses accounted for and what is already expended plus encumbered there, the remaining 1.36 million, where does that carry, what does that carry us through the year? Does that not carry?
Through
is there-
June 30th.
Is there a concern over a shortfall or is there not a concern over a shortfall? So
Currently, right now, I don't have a concern with a shortfall now.
There's also the opportunity at the end of the year, if there is a fund balance for the board to make considerations of funds that they may carry forward.
Okay.
Why it is as healthy as it is right now is there are paraeducator positions we've not filled. So that's why it's kind of balancing out some of those increased special education costs without us seeing the impact of that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other public comments?
I don't have any online, no.
Old business. Any old business, school board members? None?
None.
Policy, first readings, attachment number 10 in your packet. Mrs. Moriarty.
So you have nursing mothers accommodations, false alarms, bomb, active shooter, and other such threats, change of class or school assignment, best interests and manifest hardship, use of seclusion and restraint, public gifts and donations, councils and committees, superintendent evaluation and goal setting, fiscal management goals, annual budget, budget planning, budget implementation, transfers of appropriation, and wellness through nutrition and physical activity.
Wow.
So these are all.
Am I allowed to ask questions?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, do you want
No,
to go, do you want to arm wrestle?
I just want to make one quick general
Yeah,
comment,
go
you would
for it.
appreciate. The policy committee greatly appreciates the efforts of Ms. Bullimore, who has brought a new level of organization, so we were able to go through so many policies.
Yes.
That was one meeting. And that
That's
was,
amazing.
it was great. We did a thorough vetting. It was awesome.
Thank you.
So,
No, thank you. I think she does really that. Great. Okay, so on page 71 in our packet, we have restraint and seclusion definition. And I just wondered why and whether that is repeated again on 73 and 74, or is that redundant?
What I will say is we had an attorney go through this.
Okay, so there's a reason.
I think it's, this is certainly a policy we want to be well
This is
vetted.
the same exact thing twice.
And it's based on, I think, the RSA and New Hampshire School Boards Association, so.
Okay.
It is a very wordy policy, I agree.
And my other one, on page 77, I just thought this was kind of interesting, and I do realize that this is taken verbatim out of the DOE website. But when I read through this, I thought it was kind of odd where it ends. So in number 4, no period of restraint shall exceed 15 minutes. So I read that and I'm like, okay, only 15 minutes to restrain a child. But then you go into number 5, and if a designated employee, including the principal, approves lengthening that can be extended to 30 minutes. And then I thought it was strange that from 30 minutes on, there's only another 30-minute interval to check on that child. So I just thought that was strange where you're like have the small limit, you can add a 15-minute increment, but then double
To the 30.
for the rest. Like I would think reading that you would want to check on them like every 5 minutes after. You know?
It would be
So I thought
something
was
that
weird.
would highly monitored. But maybe that's not conveyed in the policy, but the practice would be.
Sure, yeah, I would hope so. You know? But I just thought that was I just thought that was kind of strange.
We can take I'll look at the RSA. I imagine it matches that.
It does,
Yeah,
yeah, I looked,
Okay.
yeah, but why not bring it up when you read something?
That's something certainly the board can adjust. You can't go higher than their amount, but you could certainly go lower.
Lower.
Right,
More
right.
conservative.
Yeah, and that's what
Yeah.
that's
what
where
you're
I thought it
saying.
was weird. It starts conservative and then it's kind of
And then it
liberal.
elevates, yeah, it's
Yeah.
weird. Okay, that was a good one. So you'll look into that for the next reading, okay? Can I have a motion?
To accept the first readings?
Yes, as presented with, I guess, the correction to that, or
That we're going to look at,
Yes.
see if there's an adjustment.
on page 77, yes.
So moved on the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other questions with any of these policies? Any public comments? All right, seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Correspondence, superintendent, board secretary, board members?
So I just wanted to bring attention to, Dr. Downing had received on behalf of the Middle High a very favorable letter from the New England Association of Schools and Colleges, and so just included that in your packet. That's great. And some of the work that we will be doing on Thursday evening after dinner is the portrait of a graduate. So we're trying to gain as much feedback as we can within, a short amount of time.
Okay, public comments, anyone? Because I'm closing it out at 6:50.
You have any more?
I'm just doing refreshing the
That's
screen,
fine,
just
just
to,
make
for
sure.
approval, check.
Okay, closing it out at 6:50. So we're going into non-public.
I'll make a motion to go into non-public
Okay,
for the RSA.
yes.
I will-
RSA 91A3, 2C.
Ms. Merrill.
Yes.
Mr. Miller.
Yes.
Ms. Garber.
Yes.
Ms. Conlon.
Yes.
I am a yes. Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Gail. Sorry.
All right,
Yes. Thank you all.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna send this card once I open it. Of course.
Nice job. Great job on that. Getting that.
Start recording.
What's that?
Yes, another letter. Very good, yes.
Getting
You
it.
get that every day,
yes.
you know.
Sorry. Context,
Yeah,
yes.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Enjoy.
While we're